Hi, I'm Ty Adronis with TestPilotRC.com, and this is the assembly portion of the Stinger 64 review. The Stinger 64 is manufactured by a company called Freewing, and it is available both at Hobby King and Banana Hobby. All right, so let's take a look at our instructions first. Always important to RTFM, so to speak. And here's something we don't see very often in RC aircraft, a very detailed step-by-step instruction manual. Big fan. So, another big set of points for the guys over at Freewing. Let's check it out. It's very easy to assemble, yada, yada, yada. Step 1, connect the left and right main wing servo by the Y wire. That's pretty easy to do. We'll crack open our little bag of magic toys. I love the fact that they include tools. I love collecting more and more tools. So, kudos. There's one Y wire, there's another one. Looks like one is significantly longer than the other. So let's take a look at which one we're connecting up. It looks like this is going to be the long one. Okay. So we take our wing, and we see that it's all tied up. You can see it's tied up in almost a little bow here. We'll unhook those guys, and we will connect in both plugs of the Y wire. And so what we're doing is we're just matching up color. You can see orange to orange, brown to brown, with red in the center. Okay. That looks really, really long. So actually, you know what? I'm going to guess that this is probably going to go on the elevator. And what they really could have done on the instructions here is told you which one goes on which set. So I'm going to use the shorter one here because usually our receiver is going to be up more over the wings. So I'm connecting the short one up because it's not going to have a long ways to travel, whereas the elevators will. So we've connected that up. Now we reverse the fuselage, so flip it over and tear off the tape. So first things first, pull this up a little bit. Tear off this tape. And I'm going to put this right back into its slot. If you were around for the unboxing portion, the ducted fan was actually sitting outside of its housing a little bit, and so I pushed it in there, which kind of wrapped the tape around, so I needed to pull it out a little bit. And now I just need to find a way to unstick this stuff from my hand. Okay, there we go. Then we will install the main wing on the fuselage and fix it by screw. But where do I route? Oh, there we go. It looks like there's a canopy right here for us to pull off, and everything's going to go in there. And so we're going to route our cables right in to here as we put the main wing on. Hello, don't go back there. Go forward. There we go. It actually doesn't really want to go forward into the main area. So let's check this out. It looks like, and you can't see this from where you're at, it looks like the wires for the ESC are kind of getting in the way, so I'm going to push them off to the side so that I can get a clear pathway for my servo wires to go into the electronics bay. There we go. Except I don't want them to go through there. I want them to go through the top here. There we go. They're going through now. There we go. Boy, it's always a pain in the butt to route wires. See if I can reach through and pull my cables through. There we go. Now it's pulled nice and taut. There is no room in there for error, so you really need to pull your wires tight as you're pulling it through. Otherwise, it's going to fold over and you're going to end up with a gap in the wing, and then it's going to be loose. With jets and fast planes, you want everything to be super tight. Anything loose means that you're going to be all over the place when you're actually flying, because it takes very, very little movement on your control surfaces to actually make the plane go in a direction. So I'm going to pull out 4 of these screws and our handy dandy little screwdriver that came with it. And put this thing together. Doesn't seem to be really... Oh, there we go. It's grabbing now. You know what? Not liking that screwdriver, so I'm going to break out my cobalt. Oh yeah. And there's nothing like a good screwdriver. This cobalt actually spins in both directions, which I really like. It's got kind of like this little ratchety action going on it. And I'll cinch this one down. There we go. Just 2 more. That doesn't seem to be actually catching on anything. No, it's not catching on anything. Are there a longer set here? It's definitely a shorter set. Let's see here. Let's get the screw out. There we go. I never advise beating a plane, but sometimes you have to. All right, here we go. Now it's catching. You want to be really careful with these planes also, because if you over tighten the screws, they'll just strip out, and then you're going to be completely out of luck. So it's a matter of feel. I mean, they're going to be tight as you're tightening it down, but pretty much as soon as you feel it get tighter, then just go with another 1/4 to 1/2 turn, and you're going to be set. Yeah, it's pretty tight as I'm going in. And I just feel for when it gets tighter, and I'm still feeling for it. There we go. Then I go with another 1/4, maybe a 1/2 turn, and it's solid in there. All right. So that's set now. We have our main wing in. Just so that I don't lose track of what's plugged into what, I'm going to go ahead and get out my receiver right now, and I'm going to plug in the aileron to the aileron plug on it. And boy, I'm going to need my glasses to see this because it's written so small. Looks like aileron is the second one up from the bottom. All right. Oh, and what's the polarity? It doesn't say. So I'm gonna guess. Usually positive is up, so I'm gonna do that. There we go. Okay, so the ailerons are plugged in. The main wing is on. Let's go ahead and throw the elevator on now. It looks like that's the next step of the instructions anyway. And first thing we're going to do is lock the rudder on the elevator with a screw. Or screws, plural. So let's see how it goes on here first. It looks like it slides right into that. Well, looks like it's one screw for now. And it goes right through this balsa piece. And I'm going to guess, because it doesn't really show the size of screws, is one of my gripes that I always have with putting together aircraft. I'm going to guess it's this kind of small-ish screw right here, which seems to fit up into that hole pretty well. And let's cinch it down. Right there. Ooh. There we go. Okay. And that's on there now. Insert the rudder through into the position as shown in the photo. And so it just kind of shows you sliding everything in from the rear. Okay, so here we go. You know what? First I'm going to untie these servo cables. That looks like they're both elevators, so I'm going to put on the other Y harness just for now, just so that I can separate them out. Orange to orange, brown to brown. Orange to orange, brown to brown. I know that's my elevators. Yeah, orange to orange, brown to brown. There we go. And then this one's going to be my rudder servo. Untie that bad boy. Come on. There we go. It looks like we've got this nice channel going through all the way up, so I'm going to hold these guys in. Try to make them go into that channel. All right, there it goes. Okay, and that's going to need 4 more screws to hold it in. It's going to be these guys right here, kind of the shorter version of the screws we used earlier. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I want to make sure we have all our parts before I start on this road. There we go. Okay, down in the hole. All right, that's cinched down nice and tight. I really like the way this is actually put together. I'm really pretty surprised. You know, I was expecting a lot lower quality on this for the price. I suggest you guys look at the bottom of this review on the main website to see what the price is on both Banana Hobby and on Hobby King. But this plane is really solid. I really like it. Takes quite a bit of force to put these screws in, especially on the tail. Screwing this tail is really hard. It's pretty stiff. All right, one more. This is when it's really nice to have a ratcheting screwdriver so you don't have to fight it. There we go. Now cinch down. All right, let's see. Very, very nice. Okay. So first things first, the elevators. Pulling out the elevator, and then we're just going to feed this through together. Yay! Looks like that worked. All right. Lady Luck is on my side tonight. All right. So this, I can feel from what I'm pulling on, is the elevator. Now let's pull the rudder on through. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Got it tucked up along the side there. All right, then we got the rudder. Okay, and we'll plug that one on in. Now, let's bind it up and see if we've got the right channels in the right spots. So I'm using a Spectrum DX8, which is my most trusted transmitter. Same binding process as always. I'm going to start it up. I'm going to select a new model. Go back to the main screen, then turn it off. Then I'll take one of these batteries, which should have some charge on it. If not, I think I have some 3S Dean's plug batteries around. And you never want to actually run your aircraft on factory batteries until you've charged them, but for binding, whatever. The bind plug is in by default. So I'm going to grab the little Dean's connector here and plug it in. You can see the flashing light, which means it's ready to bind up. Although it sounds like quite possibly we have the polarity wrong, but let's see. So turn it on, hold in the bind button. It says it's binding. Oh, it found it. Just curious. There's that jet sound. Okay, so I'm going to unplug the battery now because it's still not finished being put together. I just want to make sure that my electronics were plugged in correctly. And we still have this little cover that goes back here over our wires for our servos on the rudder and elevators. So first things first, let's pull those through. There's the rudder, and then there's the elevators. There we go. Now they're nicely tucked into the channel, and then I'll just use a little bit of CA glue to put that in place. I mean, really, the tension that's in there could almost hold it together, but take some of our trusty black CA. And you know, you would think you'd put it down along these edges. That's not where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it along the front. One bead along there and along the trailing edge. I don't want to be dripping down the side of my body. Then I'll give it a little swoo. It's dripping. Give it a little squirt of kicker on the front and the back. Now, just jam it on in there. And it's good. Okay, so we're just about done. We've got our plane pretty much put together, our electronics installed. All that remains is putting some Velcro on here for the electronics and for the battery, getting the CG aligned. You guys know how to do all that stuff already. I just wanted you to see how easy it is to build this. But one more thing I want to cover, and that is putting in the mount for a Jetapult. It's something that I don't think I've seen a lot of people do. So here we are with one of the packets that comes with your Jetapult. And in it are all of these balsa blocks and tow hooks. So what we've got to do is we've got to embed a balsa block in and then the hook so that it can launch the aircraft off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the area that the balsa block is going to go. And that's what we've got to cut out of our fuselage. We have to basically create a gap there to put this block in to launch it. So I'm going to heat up a soldering iron to cut this out, because soldering iron cuts through this EP foam like a knife through butter. I mean, really, it's very smooth. And I've got a block of wood here to put my soldering iron on. Okay, and while that's heating up, let's go through and just do kind of a recap of the aircraft. The aircraft actually seems really nice and stiff, really like it's going to be snappy and maneuverable. Really small control surfaces, which tells me it's going to be probably really quick. I can't wait to fly this thing. I'm really kind of surprised for an airplane coming out of where it came out of, that it's put together so well. You usually see a lot of shortcuts in these airplanes, and this thing seems to be really pretty cool. Now, what I'm thinking though is that it's not going to withstand a hard landing very well. It's not going to withstand a crunch very well, so you're going to want to make sure to get it up in the air. What I'm really curious about is how well it glides. So how slow can I land it on the ground? Because if this thing comes in hard, it's probably not going to handle it very well. So let's go ahead and see how that works with the test flight. Okay, so as far as moving forward with getting our Jetapult installed, we're going to just cut out a section of this foam with a soldering iron. This one's still not very hot, but it can still be used. You can hear it sizzling right through. All right, so we've got our basic line set up, and we can go through this one of two ways. We can either A, start sizzling out chunks of it, which is kind of usually my preference, or we can take a knife and start taking chunks out of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off one way and end up another. I've got an X-Acto knife here, and I'm going to start chipping away at this foam to start getting chunks out. Problem with this method is you're just as likely to break your X-Acto blade and send it shooting into your eye. So this is not necessarily the best method to use. The other method, using your soldering iron, is to just start sizzling chunks of it away, and you can see it smoking off there. It's funny how the Sharpie marks are turning green. So we've got this nice chunk coming off. And most of it is just vaporizing right out. I've got a few little remnants sticking behind, but you can peel those out with your fingers. It doesn't stay too hot for too long. Okay, so we've got a block pretty well chunked out of our styrofoam at this point. Now I'm going to measure up one of these balsa blocks with it. It's still nowhere deep enough, but it's about the right measurements. So let's go ahead and get about twice as deep into there. There we go. Now that's nice and flush, and it's in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole in our balsa for the stick. match that up. Let's see here. Not quite wide enough. Let's go one more up. Almost there. Still more. There it is. All right, so let's take our balsa wood and just drill a hole right through it. Ooh, almost hurt myself there. Okay, let's check it out, make sure that this will go in. Yeah, and it's actually going to go in and through. The reason why I didn't drill a hole in this is I just didn't feel like it yet, but it's going to go about like that all the way through. And so first, we'll add some CA glue. Liberally. And then we'll give it a little squirt of kicker. Drop this right in. And then push this right through. Just like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and drop a little bit more CA down into the hole just to stabilize it so it doesn't twist. And let it wick in, and boom. It's kicked, it's set. There we are, we have a Jetapult mount on it. Very cool. So we've got it all together. We've got the jet all put together. We're just going to get a hold of some Velcro to stick the receiver into it. Next step is the test flight. So stick around for the test flight of the Freewing Stinger 64. I'm Ty Adronis, and this is testpilotrc.com.